If you're over 50, chances are you've reheated leftovers more times than you can count. Yesterday's rice, last night's chicken, that comforting plate of potatoes you didn't want to waste. It feels practical, responsible, even wise. After all, many of us were raised to believe food should never be thrown away. And for most of our lives, reheating food seemed harmless. But here's something very important that almost no one talks about, especially with older adults. As our bodies age, the way we handle reheated food changes. Our digestion slows. Our immune system becomes more sensitive. Organs like the liver and pancreas don't recover from repeated stress the way they once did. That means certain foods you may have safely reheated at 30 or 40 can quietly become dangerous after 50. Not immediately dangerous, not the kind that sends you to the hospital overnight, but the slow kind, the silent kind, the kind that builds inflammation, damages organs, and over the years raises the risk of serious illnesses, including cancers of the digestive system. And this is why doctors and nutrition experts have been raising quiet warnings for years. Not about all leftovers, not about all reheating, but about a few very common foods that change chemically when reheated, especially when they're stored improperly or reheated more than once. Today, we're talking about 4 of those foods that sit in millions of refrigerators right now, foods many people over 50 reheat without a second thought. In this first part, I want to focus on the one that surprises people the most, because it seems so innocent, so basic, so harmless. Rice. Plain white rice, brown rice, fried rice, biryani, pilaf. Rice is a staple in homes around the world, especially for older adults because it's easy to digest and comforting. But here's the truth that most people don't realize. The danger with rice isn't cooking it. The danger begins after it cools. Uncooked rice can contain spores of a bacteria called Bacillus cereus. These spores are not killed by normal cooking. They survive. When cooked rice is left at room temperature too long, even for a few hours, those spores can grow and produce toxins. And here's the critical part. Those toxins are heat-resistant. Reheating the rice does not destroy them. So even if the rice smells fine, looks fine, tastes fine, those toxins can still be there. In younger bodies, this may cause mild stomach upset or nothing noticeable at all. But after 50, the risk increases. These toxins irritate the gut, increase inflammation, and put stress on the pancreas, the organ responsible for insulin and digestion. Repeated exposure over years has been linked by researchers to chronic inflammation, which is a known risk factor for pancreatic and digestive cancers. Doctors often call this fried rice syndrome, but the name makes it sound rare or dramatic. It's not. It happens quietly over time, especially when rice is cooked, left out, refrigerated late, and reheated again and again. Think about how often that happens in real life. You cook rice at lunch. It sits on the stove for a while. Later, it goes into the fridge. The next day, it's reheated, sometimes even reheated twice. That cycle is where the danger lives. And after 50, your body doesn't bounce back from that kind of repeated toxin exposure as easily. Now, this doesn't mean you can never eat rice again. It means you must treat it with respect. Rice should be cooled quickly after cooking, refrigerated promptly, and ideally eaten cold or only reheated once and very thoroughly. If it has been sitting out, even if it seems fine, it's safer to let it go. I know that's hard to hear, especially for those of us who hate waste, but your health is more valuable than a bowl of leftovers. And rice is just the beginning. Because the next food on our list is one that many older adults reheat specifically, because they believe it's healthy. Chicken. Leftover chicken soup, grilled chicken, roast chicken from the night before. It feels like a safe choice, especially when you're trying to eat lighter or get enough protein as you age. But when chicken is reheated, especially in a microwave, something important changes. Chicken protein structures are altered by repeated heat. This can make them much harder to digest. For younger people, this may mean nothing more than mild bloating, but after 50, it can lead to prolonged digestive stress. What many people don't realize is that poorly reheated chicken can also encourage the growth of harmful bacteria if it wasn't stored perfectly. And unlike fresh-cooked chicken, reheated chicken places extra strain on the liver and pancreas, especially when eaten frequently. Doctors have noticed that older adults who regularly consume reheated meats report more inflammation-related issues, from digestive discomfort to blood sugar instability. Over time, chronic inflammation is one of the biggest silent contributors to serious disease. Again, this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Your body is wiser now, but also more sensitive. What you put into it matters more than ever. In the next part, we'll talk about a food almost everyone reheats without hesitation: potatoes, and why reheating them can create compounds that disrupt blood sugar and gut health after 50. And then we'll move into a final food that may shock you, because it's often considered one of the healthiest things on the plate. So for now, I want you to simply notice something. Open your refrigerator later today. Look at what's waiting there, not with guilt, not with fear, but with new understanding. Your habits got you this far, but small changes now can protect your health for many years ahead. Mashed potatoes, boiled potatoes, roasted potatoes, potato curry, potato soup. They feel soft, filling, and easy on the stomach. Many doctors even recommend potatoes to older adults who struggle with chewing or appetite. But here's what most people don't realize. When cooked potatoes are cooled and then reheated, their starch structure changes. This process creates something called resistant starch. Now, resistant starch itself isn't always bad. In small amounts, it can actually be helpful for gut bacteria. But here's the problem. When potatoes are repeatedly cooled and reheated, especially at high temperatures, they can form compounds that are much harder for an aging digestive system to handle. Instead of being gently digested, they ferment in the gut. This leads to gas, bloating, inflammation, and over time, irritation of the intestinal lining. For someone in their 20s or 30s, this may mean discomfort for a few hours. For someone over 50, repeated irritation of the gut can interfere with nutrient absorption, weaken the immune response, and disrupt blood sugar control. And blood sugar matters deeply as we age. Reheated potatoes can cause sharper spikes in blood glucose compared to freshly cooked ones. That puts extra strain on the pancreas, the same organ we talked about earlier. Over years, this repeated stress increases the risk of insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and chronic inflammation, conditions closely linked to serious long-term illness. There's also another quiet issue with reheated potatoes that doesn't get talked about enough. If potatoes are stored improperly or wrapped tightly without airflow, they can encourage the growth of bacteria like Clostridium botulinum, especially when kept warm for too long. Even when refrigerated, reheating doesn't always make them safe if they were mishandled earlier. Again, this doesn't mean potatoes are the enemy. It means freshly cooked potatoes are far safer than reheated ones, especially after 50. If you do store them, they should be cooled quickly, kept cold, and eaten without repeated reheating. If they smell even slightly off, it's your body's warning system speaking. Listen to it. Now let's move to the third food, and this one surprises people because it's often associated with health, strength, and comfort. Eggs. Boiled eggs, scrambled eggs, omelets, egg curry, egg sandwiches saved for later. Eggs are rich in protein and nutrients, and for older adults, they're often seen as an easy, affordable source of nourishment. But reheated eggs are a very different story. When eggs are cooked and then reheated, especially in a microwave, their protein structure breaks down in a way that can produce oxidized cholesterol. This type of cholesterol is far more damaging to the body than what's found in freshly cooked eggs. Oxidized cholesterol contributes to inflammation inside blood vessels, increasing the risk of heart disease and stroke, two of the biggest health threats after 50. It also places stress on the liver, which is responsible for processing fats and toxins. Many people over 50 already have some level of reduced liver efficiency, even if blood tests appear normal. Adding oxidized compounds through reheated eggs creates a slow buildup of internal stress that the body struggles to clear. There's also a digestive angle here. Reheated eggs are significantly harder to digest. That heavy, uncomfortable feeling some people get after eating leftover eggs isn't in their head. It's the digestive system working overtime to break down altered proteins. Over time, repeated digestive strain contributes to fatigue, nutrient deficiencies, and inflammation that spreads beyond the gut. Doctors often notice that older adults who stop reheating eggs report fewer digestive issues, better energy levels, and improved appetite within weeks. It's a small change with a surprisingly noticeable impact. And now we come to the fourth food. This one is especially important because many people reheat it believing they are doing something good for their health. Spinach and other leafy greens. Cooked spinach, reheated vegetable dishes, leftover lentils mixed with greens. Leafy greens are full of nitrates. In fresh form, nitrates aren't harmful, but when cooked greens are cooled and reheated, nitrates can convert into nitrites. And nitrites, under certain conditions in the body, can form nitrosamines, compounds strongly linked to cancer risk. As we age, our stomach acid levels often decrease. This makes it easier for nitrites to convert into harmful compounds inside the digestive system. That's why reheated leafy greens pose a higher risk after 50 than they do earlier in life. Spinach is especially sensitive to this process, but it's not alone. Kale, beet greens, and even celery can behave the same way when reheated. The risk isn't dramatic or immediate, it's slow, quiet, built meal by meal over years. This is why some doctors recommend eating cooked greens fresh, and if stored, eating them cold rather than reheated. Cold salads with leftover greens are far safer than reheating them again. Now I want to pause here and say something very important. This is not about fear. This is not about perfection. And this is definitely not about throwing away everything in your fridge and starting over. This is about understanding that after 50, your body speaks more softly but more honestly. It tells you what it can handle and what it can't. The problem is, many of us were never taught how to listen. After 50, the safest approach is simple. Cook smaller portions whenever possible. It sounds obvious, but it's powerful. When you cook just enough for one meal, or maybe one extra serving, you reduce the need to reheat altogether. Many older adults notice that smaller, fresher meals leave them feeling lighter, more energetic, and less bloated. When you do save food, timing matters more than people realize. Food should be cooled quickly and placed in the refrigerator within 2 hours of cooking, sooner if the room is warm. Letting food sit out until it cools naturally is one of the most common habits that leads to bacterial growth, especially in rice, potatoes, and cooked meats. And once food is in the refrigerator, it's best to think of reheating as a one-time decision. Reheat once, eat it, and let the rest go. Reheating the same food again and again is where chemical changes and toxin buildup really begin. Another gentle shift that helps is learning which foods are better eaten cold instead of reheated. Cooked vegetables, especially leafy greens, are often much safer when eaten cold in salads or mixed into yogurt-based or lemon-based dressings. Cold chicken can be sliced thin and eaten with fresh vegetables, avoiding the digestive stress of reheating. These small adjustments protect your gut and pancreas without taking away flavor or satisfaction. Microwaves deserve a brief mention here, not because they're evil, but because they heat unevenly. That uneven heat allows some bacteria to survive while overcooking other parts of the food. If you use a microwave, Stirring food halfway through and making sure it's heated thoroughly, not just warm, is essential. Lukewarm leftovers are far more dangerous than food that's been heated properly once. Now let's talk about something deeper, because food habits aren't just physical, they're emotional. Many people over 60 grew up in households where wasting food was unthinkable. You ate what was there. You finished your plate. You saved leftovers because food meant security. That mindset helped you survive difficult times. But today, protecting your health is a higher form of respect for yourself and for the life you've lived. Throwing away unsafe leftovers isn't wasteful, it's protective. Your pancreas doesn't know you were trying to be practical. Your liver doesn't care that the food looked fine. Your body only responds to what you give it, again and again. And the beautiful thing is, when you start making these small changes, your body responds quickly. Many older adults who stop reheating rice, eggs, and potatoes notice less bloating within days, better sleep, more stable energy, fewer unexplained aches. These aren't miracles. They're signs that inflammation is calming down and digestion is becoming less strained. Over time, these changes matter even more. Reduced inflammation means lower risk of chronic disease. A less stressed pancreas means better blood sugar control. A calmer digestive system means better absorption of nutrients that keep your bones strong, your mind sharp, and your immune system resilient. This is how longevity is built, not through extreme diets or fear-based rules, but through quiet, consistent respect for your body's changing needs. I want to leave you with one final thought. Aging isn't about restriction, it's about refinement. You don't need to eat less joy, you just need to eat with more intention. Freshly cooked meals, simple ingredients, listening to how your body feels afterward, letting go of habits that served a younger version of you, and embracing habits that protect the person you are now. If this message resonated with you, take a moment the next time you open your fridge. Pause, ask yourself, is this nourishing me or just filling space? That single question can change more than you think. And if you found value here, stay connected. There are many more small, powerful adjustments that can help you stay strong, clear-minded, and independent for years to come.